Good morning, welcome. Welcome to the Retired Living Truth series for those who haven't been here before. My name's Brett Janelle, I'm your host today. And today's topic is the truth about senior living options for those who aren't ready yet. Who's not ready yet? Wow, everyone put up their hands. Ready for what? I haven't even told you what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about one aspect of what you might not be ready for, but I'll be interested to know what other people are thinking in terms of not yet being ready. So I just want to start off with a question to everybody. Who's made plans and 100% committed to those plans, only for those plans not to work out? Anybody? Show of hands. I didn't see the whole room with the hand up. So there's a few of you I probably need to talk to after this. So let me help those who didn't put their hand up. Who has committed to going on a diet perhaps? Or committed to working out, going to the gym, or maybe committed to a vacation that just didn't work out? Or who has gone into a marriage expecting that it is going to work out and for whatever reason it didn't? Yeah, more hands, yeah. So again, who has made plans and committed 100% to it and it hasn't worked out? Everyone please put up your hand. Because we've all made plans for something and for whatever reason it hasn't worked out. So is it not important for us to have plans for that what if situation? What if things don't work out the way we plan? We all agree that it is important to have a what if plan, whatever it is in life. Annette and I, we were going to go snowboarding the last couple of weeks up to North Star. So we blocked out the day from work. We got up early in the morning, all excited. Our snowboards were ready to go. And guess what happened when we looked at the road conditions? We can't go, 80's closed. So what do you think our what if plan was if we can't go? Nothing as exciting as all of you people. Ours was like, we'll go to work. And we'll find another day. And then the next week, guess what happened again? We got up all excited, ready to go. 80's closed again. Yeah, so things don't always work out as we planned. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Just a quick show of hands. Who's new here today? Who hasn't been to one of the seminars before? Quite a number of you. Okay, thank you. Well, so welcome. Thank you for taking a chance on us and being here today. And I hope you learned something, which is obviously our goal. So for those who are new, just the format of this is I have 4 fantastic panelists who are going to join me up on stage in a moment. And I'm going to ask some questions on behalf of you, the audience. And then at 11 o'clock, we'll open it up to your questions of the panelists. And then we'll finish it promptly at 11:30 so we can all go on our way and look for that pot of gold. Yeah. So actually, let me have my panelists come up and join me. Did everyone get a binder when they came in who was new? Good. So you should all have handouts. And the purpose of the binder for those who are new is to be able to put your handouts in the binder and hopefully come along again and keep adding to the binder of information that you have. All scooting closer together. She's a lot lonely.
Fine.
So if I can start with you, Lisa, could you please introduce yourself, who you are, what role you play, the organization you belong to, and just why you are here to talk about today's topic.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Arch. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for 5-Star Premier Residences of Reno. So kind of old Northwest Reno, Southwest Reno, excuse me. Been in the industry for now 15 plus years. It is my passion. I am fortunate to show up and be able to do the thing that I love. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about that process that you're going to be thinking about your next step. Retirement was probably your last really big decision, and this is most likely the next biggest decision you'll make. So hopefully we can get some information that is helpful for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Joy?
My name is Joy Hepner, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Mountain Lakes Estates Independent Retirement Community. We're one of the newest ones, just opened up 2 years ago down off South Meadows. We have a lake behind our property, beautiful area. But my my love for senior living and my career started in volunteer work and VA and gerontology academic program at UNR. And I've been in the business almost 10 years now. So I look forward to helping you guys understand some of the options.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joy. Susie.
Good morning. Susie Kaczynski, and I'm with Somerset Senior Living, Independent, Assisted, and Memory Care, the newest senior living community in Northern Nevada. And we're in the Northwest, right off of Robb Drive and Interstate 80. See a lot of wonderful, familiar faces in the room. So smart of you to continue your educational process by attending these seminars. I'm the Community Relations Director. And I have an affinity, always have had an affinity for working with the more mature population. When I was a child, I'd even enjoy sitting with the elders of my family, hearing the stories instead of playing with my same age cousins. So I am thrilled to be a resource to Northern Nevada and happy to be here with you today.
Thank you, Susie. Annette.
I'm Annette Janelle, and I am co-owner of Janelle Moves Made Easy and the Janelle Realty Group. We focus our business on helping people downsize, have been in the business for 23 years. And for the past 10 years, have been really focusing on helping people downsize. So I have a lot of experience on the different processes that people go through as far as wanting to make this move, because it is a huge step to be living in a home for 40 years and then making that decision to go to something a lot smaller.
Thank you, Annette. So if I could start with you, Lisa, when people reach out to you either for initial consultation or maybe come to do a tour of your community, what is the reason, what problem or challenge are they trying to solve by coming and talking to you?
Well, they are as
And if we can
many.
start in terms of, independent living where people are making a choice first.
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you. So many.
Actually, can I interrupt again? Sorry, last time I'll interrupt. And if you could just give us one reason, what I think I'd like to do is actually go to each of you with one reason. So you don't take all of the reasons and then, so we'll do one reason, then we'll go along and then we'll go around again if we need to.
Well, I think the most obvious for me right now is post-COVID, and especially people have been home alone for such a long time. Isolation, loneliness, they're ready to live again and socialize. So that's one of the big ones I hear. I'm tired of being home alone.
Okay, so wants more social interaction. Okay, wonderful. Joy.
The reason I hear quite often, and something that's really important to seniors, is nutritional health and being really tired of cooking. So we had somebody moved into our building, and she said, after a whole 3 days of working in the garden, taking care of the house, she walks in sweaty and tired and dirty, and her husband says, "What's for dinner?" And she said, "I got tired of cooking and he didn't get tired of eating. So we had to make a change." And now 3 meals a day in a dining room with other people you can interact with, and the social factor, like Lisa's saying, but also just not having to worry about grocery shopping, food prep, figuring out what's going bad in your refrigerator, free room service, and all the meals provided is a really big factor.
So that might have been one of those reasons why some marriages don't work out. Someone comes home, "Where's my meal?" I better not say that to Annette anymore. "Where's my meal?" Yeah. Susie.
Often what I hear is health and safety concerns. So when health needs advance to a point where assistance is needed or safety issues become a concern, that's when people will begin to consider an assisted living and or a memory care community, depending on this situation. So what's more important than health and safety? And for me, that's the underlying reason why people reach out.
So no longer feeling safe in the environment that we're in, which kind of goes back to the January seminar for those who are here, aging in the best place. If we're no longer feeling safe, maybe we're not in the best place anymore. Annette.
What I often hear is the house, the maintenance of the house, it's gotten too much. And to piggyback off of what Susie has said, is that as their health has deteriorated or as they turn into a caregiver for their spouse, the house is not as important, being able to take care of it, because caring for your own health and caring for your spouse is more important. And then the house, it just ends up being too much. The yard, all the maintenance of everything. And then as you start not taking care of it, it just compounds and becomes overwhelming.
Thank you. Lisa, do you have another one? If not, we'll
Well, with that comes transportation. What if there's a condition that necessitates you giving up driving? And unfortunately, here we do not have perhaps the best network of transportation. If you're confident in using Uber, that's great. But I think that that's a big one. Being able to get to your doctor's appointments, getting that shopping done, engaging in some of the activities or organizations that you are now having to bypass or not able to go to. So yeah, that's another big one.
So I might not be ready yet, but when I lose the ability for transportation or it's not available, that might be a reason why I am now maybe closer to being ready. Okay, great. Joy, do you have another one?
Yeah, I think the support. So if you're in home alone, not only is declining health a concern sometimes, but just knowing that you are alone, that you would have to get to a phone, call a family member, call 911, utilize a life alert, and there may be a delay there. So having support in a building, whether it be independent or assisted living, they usually have the 24-hour staffing. So knowing that somebody is a minute down the hall instead of 20 or 30 minutes away when your family tries to react to an emergency.
So you mentioned to me another solution for that. If we're not ready yet to move, we're in our home and love our home, that's where we want to be, but support we need. What's another potential solution for that? Either in the home or in a community?
Yeah, so independent as well as your home, you're able to hire in caregiving support. If you truly are not ready yet, you don't have the needs, the necessity for the social life or meals or housekeeping or all the utilities being included, you want to stay in home longer, there are some other options that you can provide care in home. It's not the perfect solution because you don't have somebody there all the time, like in assisted living, and you don't have someone in the building to respond to emergencies 24 hours like independent living. But being able to hire somebody in for a few hours a week to do laundry or help you with transportation is an option.
Yeah, or bathing or, yeah, those options. Susie, do you have another one?
I think from what you've heard, there's typically not one reason, but there is a compilation of many reasons. And so keep in mind that we often can't see the trees through the big forest. And oftentimes it's family who suggest, I've noticed this or this or this. And what's going to be our natural reaction? Oh, I'm just fine. Everything's good. We're managing great. Well, do take heart and at least listen and educate yourself about those aspects, because senior living is designed to enhance your quality of life. So it's a compilation, not just one of these options, but consider in totality what may provide you the higher quality of life with regards also to health and safety, to maintain you as long as possible.
Thank you, Susie. So Annette, I don't know if you have another one, but could you talk to the slide that I've just put up in terms of where we are on the slide, and everyone has this in their handout. And if our current environment is not the best place at the moment, what might the next one be before we look at independent living, which we'll come back to in a moment in terms of the community?
So oftentimes I end up with people that will bring me in and just have the conversation and talk about what different options there are. And those people that truly aren't ready yet for a senior community, but they're just overwhelmed by the space that they have, usually want to downsize to a smaller home. And I have a couple now that they'd been living in their home for 40 years and they raised their kids there. They loved, it was a ranch and they had lots of space. The idea of moving into an apartment was just like, it was hard for them to wrap their head around. but they knew that they couldn't take care of the space that they're in, and they're not uncommon. We often hear that. So they ended up deciding to move to a 55 plus community, a much smaller home. Yes, it wasn't the ranch, but it back to open space. So they didn't feel as tight and claustrophobic, but they've been there for 2 years and they're now looking at assisted living. So they've leapfrogged from going into an independent living community because at their current home, they need more help. They can't stay there on their own anymore. But it was more like a stepping stone. It's not going from this 4,000 square foot house into a smaller apartment. They're doing the stepping stone. And so that is one thing that we do see people doing is a single family dwelling. In Reno, Sparks, Carson City, we have 9 55 plus communities. Several of them are gated. Some of them are not. We're going to talk about pricing.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself. But in any event, single family dwelling can be a stepping stone for you.
And that could be a condominium or a rental.
It can. In our area, we pretty much only have, except for one, there's only single family homes as far as 55 plus. But if you wanted to move into an apartment or a condominium that isn't 55 plus, does not cater to seniors, that is definitely an option. And we do see people doing that.
I guess the point there being we're still very much independent. No one's helping us. We have to do it all on our own. We're responsible for meals, transportation, maintaining whatever environment we're living in, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So maybe I can jump to you, Lisa. So let's talk about not being ready yet, but what are some of the other things that kind of go through our mind? Sometimes it's physical in terms of the things we've talked about, but sometimes it's mindset too in terms of not being ready yet. Could you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, certainly. One of the things that happens, you've retired and you really have all this wonderful time. You have time sovereignty. You can use your time how you want to. And we start to form our identity by scheduling our activities, scheduling those social groups that we feel connected to, volunteerism, all of that. Smattering of, household chores and things like that. So while we are healthy, this gives us validity and it gives us that sense that we're living an active life. As time goes by, that may be changing. So it's like a scale. All of a sudden, there might be a health hiccup. Certain those activities and are now possible, and yet you're happy if you can just schedule that one thing a day and everything revolves around that. But that's not truly living. But we still feel that if we can just manage that one task, we're doing fine. And yet others, like Susie said, the trees, it's family that's now starting to fill in more and more. It's family or friends or neighbors. And yet we can still say to ourselves, I'm doing fine. I'm at home. The 4 walls around me, we're still maintaining, we're fine. So those are some really difficult questions. I mean, it's easy to procrastinate. It's easy to also kind of talk yourself into that you're still doing great. So, and those are hard questions, definitely.
So kind of talking about quality of life.
Exactly.
Which is a choice for all of us as to what
Right.
quality we want, and everyone has a different answer. So, okay.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. So everything we've talked about is making a move by choice. We're choosing to move to whichever one that we've just talked about for whatever the reason happens to be. What about people who come to you and it's now a have to move? Are there situations in terms of independent living, just to start with, where you have to turn them away? It's too late. What would be some?
Well, there are some reasons that people will unfortunately need to be turned away.
If you could
I
start
will,
with one and then we'll go down the line.
I will say, so one of it is memory. I mean, memory is a big one. Mobility is another. So those are
So
two
why
things
would
from
memory stop me moving into an independent living community?
going back to that structure that had been created in a home. If there is a short-term memory loss, it is very difficult to imprint a new routine.
Joy, what's one when people reach out and it's now a have to move, it's not really by choice, and you go, sorry, we're just unable to help?
Yeah, so independent living only. We don't have the assisted living option. You can bring in caregivers, but due to that being an independent property, we're kind of that stepping stone. So we don't have as many of the involuntary moves, but typically transportation, housekeeping, meals, all of those are reasons that people need to move and will choose to. If they get to the point where they're wheelchair bound or need severe assistance to 24-hour care, you need lift assistance in and out of chairs just to get up and down from your bed to the bathroom to things like that, you might not be appropriate for an independent living situation and may need 24-hour care support. And that can happen after a fall or an injury. You're doing fine at home and then you head to a rehab and you start to decline. That means you may not be appropriate for an independent only situation.
So even though I'd worked out I'm going to be moving to your community at some point in time, something may happen and now I can't. So I probably should have like a plan B to my plan A.
Yeah, we have a lot of that where it's like we should have done it earlier, get settled into a safe environment, a place where we have all that support. We get to do what we want to do and not the things that are have tos. Doing your own shopping and housekeeping and paying the utility bills, all of that is the have tos, not the want to. It's not your social clubs and you're going out to eat with your friends. It's really those more difficult responsibilities that we take over for you so that you have more time, like Lisa was saying, for the things you want to do in life.
Great, thank you. So I might not have had that fall that's now prevented me from moving. Susie.
So now I get to talk about what would disqualify someone for an assisted living or a memory care community. So as the two have discussed, independent
Do
living.
you have another one for independent?
No, I do not. But as we progress through the spectrum here, if there's need for 24/7.
Move it away from your mouth a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're loud.
Too loud. That's a good thing, right? You can always tone it down than hearing it there. So if there's a need for 24/7 medical intervention that would not allow someone to reside in an assisted living or memory care, the option then would be a long-term care facility. When activities of daily living, which are personal care assistance needs, become necessary, that's what would qualify people for assisted living. Memory care, there is typically a diagnosis of some form of memory loss, dementia, or Alzheimer's. And those communities, per state law, must be a secure community. So for those who may be an elopement risk, they are in a secure place then to maintain their health and safety.
Annette?
You know, because I'm a little bit different, but I just want to talk a little bit why people delay making the move, and it makes it so that they don't end up qualifying for independent or assisted or memory care. I've had people say I don't want to make the move until my pet passes away or until my spouse passes away. There's some reason that's holding them back from making that move. And we have a couple now where they didn't want to make the move. And now he has, because of memory decline, has become volatile. He's not going to be accepted into any of these communities. So it makes a difference to pay attention to where you are now and what you want what your future to look like. And the decisions that you make right now are going to affect that. So if you do eventually see yourself moving into a community where you are going to get more help, take steps to make that happen sooner rather than later. And because you don't want to get to the point where you don't qualify anymore.
So if I'm in that situation, I'm not ready yet, but maybe it's because of a pet or spouse, whatever. Is it worth talking to the communities just to kind of see what would look like as things kind of change? If I'm not aware of what some of the ramifications like you are just described? Nodding your head.
Oh,
yes?
yes, absolutely. I would do your homework. I mean, you're here now. I mean, all of you are here. You're doing your homework. So this is fantastic. I would take it one step further and actually go and check out the communities and see what you think of them and if they're a good fit for you. So just kind of planning ahead and see what is going to work for you.
So I could ask that question. I'm not ready yet because of what could go wrong between now and when I think I will be ready. Just so we kind of have a glimpse of what other people have experienced, for why things have kind of gone south. They've now needed not only a plan B, but now they're looking at plan C. And plan C is usually nowhere near as good as A or B. Okay, great. So what else do we need to talk about in terms of assisted living? Lisa, anything you want to add?
Certainly. The assisted living, and Susie can probably speak to that even further too, is assisted living is that point where you are working with your physician. It is an area that does require for your doctor to write orders for you. And as Susie mentioned, it has to do with the pillars of self-care. And, you know, whether you're not able to manage your medications, I mean, that's one that we see very frequently. And when we start to miss our medications, there are many, many consequences to that. And so, and of course, family probably is involved in this decision as well. So it is one of the more detailed most, and I can speak to what we do. There are forms that need to be filled out that get sent to your physician. That gives all the information about your medications, your current health status, what they feel that would be helpful to you. That gets then transferred to a nurse manager who reviews that. And then often a personal assessment is done at that time as well. So that way it helps us decide levels of care. And most structures are where you have a room and board, levels of care that then are assessed on top, as well as med management. Some do have a comprehensive package. So that's why shopping around is so important. You have to find the fit that works for your finances and the services that you are now requiring.
Thank you. I'd just like to jump back to independent living, whatever form it may be, but where someone's made a move from not being in the best place and they weren't ready, but they've become ready, how their life has changed because they've made that move. So it's a lot of the things that you talked about at the beginning, but how has it impacted the person? I don't know if you have any residents that you can talk about or people you've helped, but going from not being in the best place to now they're in the best place, and the change you've seen with that individual or that couple. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd be happy to address that. Typically, independent is where you sign a contract. It's just like a regular apartment. You're going to sign in for an apartment, and then you're going to be on a month-to-month contract. Very active, a lot of freedom, no regulations there, but a lot of support of those services that we were previously talking about. A lot of times that can help with couples, especially couples where one spouse may have dementia. They may be living fine at home. You have that spouse caring for them in just the daily routine. But that does mean that quite often you are in a position where you can't really have a lot of freedom to have your own social life, your own activities, your own groups. You always have to think about that other person and their healthcare needs, if they're going to be okay at home for a few hours while you run out to the grocery store. That can be really difficult to live day to day with all of those concerns and constant anxiety. You would have a better situation if you were in a community where a lot of those responsibilities that take up your daily life are taken off your plate, whereas the meals and the housekeeping and all of those would help to give you more time with your spouse and more time to yourself. We had a couple move into our building that were struggling at home. Really, they weren't struggling. They can manage. They're comfortable. They have their own routine. She's managing his care, and it's a really kind of an easy life of being able to manage that in a routine and an environment that was really long term. But she was lonely. She says, I only talk to one person every day. I really can't get out on my own. And it's getting more and more difficult for me to make friends and to engage. And I'd like to have the ability to say, if you want to sit here in the apartment, you can do that and watch TV for a few hours. I'm going to go out to a book club right down the hall. If you need anything, I'm right down the hall. It's easier for her to engage and have a social activities and to really build those friendships again. and have a separate life from that care situation. So that's been really interesting watching some of those couples move into an independent situation where they don't need constant care. They can manage their own routines, but having that separate life and saying, I can walk away, I can eat with other people and have meals and have all those responsibilities taken away so I can also concentrate on my spouse more.
So quality of
Yeah.
life again.
Mm-hmm.
Susie or Annette?
I'd
Sure.
like to interject. Yeah, I had a couple that, so he was the caregiver for her and she had memory issues, and sitting down at the table with them, she wasn't there. Oftentimes she'd just get up and go to sleep or fall asleep right at the table. So she wasn't engaged at all. They moved into assisted living. Now he did not need the assistance, except for that he was her caregiver in the house. So it made a huge difference. She went into assisted living. She actually, when we went to visit her, she was engaging. She was actually out instead of just sitting in a chair falling asleep, she was out playing cards. We'd go visit him and she would be down the hall. It was amazing, the difference to see that. And it actually gave him a lot more freedom as well to be able to go and spend time with his friends, because he was a really social guy. And so that helped him and her.
Thank you. So that's kind of interdependent in the middle where we need some assistance. The husband was fine. His wife needed some assistance. Did you have any you wanted to add, Susie, before we talk a little bit more about?
For those in the room that know me, I'm a pretty straight shooter here. And so to address how people change when they come into an independent or an assisted living community, it's amazing. Pressure, relief, stress is lifted from the other party who's been the primary caregiver. We see personalities emerge that have lain dormant for so much time. We see activity levels, physical activity levels increase. Keeping the mind and the body active are critical for maintaining good health. So the benefits are incredible, and they're going to be individualized because each of us have a specific a pattern. But these communities are designed to enhance you as an individual, you as a couple. We often refer back to a term called enabling. You know, the marriage longevity in this room has got to be very extensive. And when you come together, it's a partnership. One helps the other helps here. And so because we've committed ourselves to that, the ability or the unfortunate situation where you enable a bad situation to occur can perpetuate. And it just takes one scenario, one little stub of the toe, and the whole scenario can change. So as Annette discussed, it's far better to be proactive than reactive, because that one little stub of a toe can lead to a broken bone, which requires hospitalization and potentially a surgery and rehabilitation in a skilled nursing facility. And now the physician's recommendation that it is no longer safe or healthy for the spouse to care for the other individual in a home, which forces an emotional decision instead of an intellectual decision. So it's those kinds of things that will transition people from home to assisted living, bypassing the total independence of an independent community. And the same is true then if they're in assisted living and one of the other develops memory issues. Memory, care for activities of daily living is a little more standardized than the specific training it takes to work with folks who have a dementia diagnosis. And most spouses do not have the training, the education, and the experience to know the various techniques to help a spouse with memory concerns. And that's where reaching up to a community that has that qualification to help with your loved one is so important. I equate it to if you fell and broke a bone, you would go to a specialist for that, correct? Well, if a dementia diagnosis is there, you need to reach out to a specialist who can assist with that condition. The quality of life for both is so affected that it's critical you get the specialized care, the specialized attention that your loved one needs. And that's what these assisted living and memory care communities provide for you.
Thank you, Susie. So you mentioned a couple of terms. You mentioned long-term care and rehabilitation. Is everyone clear how they're different to assisted living? 100% clear as mud? Yeah, so a lot of
I do have one comment. One
If
question
we
that
do, could you describe how's long-term care and rehab, how are they different to assisted living? Is that a different place, or am I doing that within the assisted living community? Just elaborate a little bit more.
to answer your question, yes, it's both. So if you're in assisted living and you need additional rehabilitation, home health, physical therapy, occupational, speech therapy can come into the senior living communities and provide that service to individuals. When there's additional medical needs that must be addressed, that's a skilled nursing facility. And typically those are rehabilitative short-term stays. If continuous medical assistance is required, your two options are a hospital and long-term care in a skilled nursing facility. So in the continuum of care, we have hospitals, we have skilled nursing facilities, then we have memory care, assisted living, independent living, and then of course we have a number of group homes in the area also. So where you make the decision that you make is really based on the medical needs that you have. Does that add some clarity to you folks?
Does for me. Hoping it does for most other people.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and again, if you have questions about that on that front page, write down your questions and we can dig deeper during Q&A. So let's talk about costs. Maybe I'll start with you, Annette. If we're looking at staying independent and we're looking to from downsizing to one of the 55 plus independent communities, what are we looking at? What are our options?
So as I mentioned earlier, there are 9 different 55 plus communities in the area. The least expensive one is in Sparks, and you're looking at just over $100,000, but it was built in 1960. And for that price, it needs to be updated. One that was
How much did you say?
around $100,000.
100,000. Okay, I was just making sure we had the right. Yeah.
Yes. No, this is a 55 plus community. So you are buying it. The one in Sparks, though, for $100,000, it is a co-op. So it is where you're buying into the whole community, and it's kind of like owning a stock or in a company. It works similarly. So you're $100,000, but the place is 1960s, needs to be updated. And if it's been updated, there was one recently that sold for 180,000 that have been updated. Because it's a co-op that you can't get a loan, so those are pretty much cash only. And then it goes up to over $1 million. You've got Regency. So Toll Brothers has several Regency properties. The least expensive ones are in Sparks. And then you've got 2 of them in the Del Monte Ranch and then Carmela Ranch. Carmela Ranch, they're selling over $1 million, some of them. It depends on the upgrades that you want. You can get into some of those communities for around 600,000.
Do we have anything in between 100,000 and $1 million?
Toscana was built in the early around 2000, 2003 range. So those you're looking around 450,000, can go up over 600,000 depending on the upgrades and the size of it. And Toscana as a gated community is actually the least expensive as far as gated community, having all the amenities, because it's a 55 plus active adult community, because they do have actual it can be 55 plus where they don't have actual activities, but when it's active adult, it is where they've got somebody that's doing the programming for all the different activities that you have there. They've got the swimming pool, the gym, and you're looking at HOA costs there around $150 a month. And then Del Webb, that's a full range as well. You're looking in, you can be in the 500,000 all the way up to, well, we were selling over 800,000, but now because of pricing, they've gone down. We're looking more in the sevens.
So when you say Del Webb, you're referring to Sierra Canyon up in Somerset?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And anything else in there? Manufactured homes for 55 plus?
There are some manufactured homes that are 55 plus. Actually, Carson City has Quail Run, and they do have some manufactured homes, and they do have single family homes in the same development. Those you're looking around the 350 up to 450 range.
Okay, thank you. So maybe I can jump to you, Joy. If we move across and we're talking about an independent living community, just representative of the area, what kind of monthly cost are we looking at?
Well, most independent communities would just have the basic monthly cost. It would be the rent, all inclusive. Typically, you have the meals, housekeeping, transportation, all of those amenities included in one basic charge every month. Typically, you're on a month to a 30, 90-day contract. And you're going to look at anywhere from $2,500 per month, upwards of $5,000 or $6,000, depending on whether or not you have a second person in the apartment. That could increase your cost, and what size your apartment is. Typically, the range in size is around 300 something square feet for a studio, all the way up to over 1,000 square feet for some 2 bedrooms or large 1-bedroom apartments.
Thank you. Actually, you guys told me to put up a slide, create a slide, so I did. So thank you. Just to shock everybody at how expensive, as we go down the list, they can be. So let's jump over to Lisa. Did you want to just explain a little about assisted living?
Sure, Brett. I can talk about that a little bit. Yeah, thanks. You're helping us. You know, when you really, many of us do have worksheets. I will just add that it is really great to sit down and look at your current expenses in comparison, you know, and that's something that you can do well beyond, you know, as you're starting to shop and look at different properties.
And why is that important to do? Sorry to interrupt.
I think people don't realize sometimes, you know, we have this caravan of life that we've been collecting, you know, different little cabooses and all the rest. And so I always tell everyone, you know, I know it's hard to downsize, but think of it this way. That's a very, very expensive storage. And I think and you give a great seminar on that, on how to get rid of that stuff, that caravan that you've now collected. But I'm sorry, I've regressed. So for the independent living, one of our, I think, things that we do is we are a continuum of care. So then you have that, once you're with us, you have the ability to then go into assisted living as a resident. The community fees, I think, have we spoken about that yet? Most properties do have a community fee. Most of them are non-refundable. There's also pet fees if you're happening to bring a pet. Some of them are built into a month-to-month rate, or then it's just a one-time. So with 5-star, we would have you come, we have a $3,000, for example, community fee. We would go ahead and get a deposit of the first month's rent, and then we would work on a move-in date. That allows you a lot of time, especially if you're working with your home, to kind of have your foot in, starting to think about those items that you want to bring, what's going to fit, especially if you're local and you have that privilege. It makes it so much easier. You have already in your mind's eye the idea of what you're going to bring. So, and then with assisted living, many places have the same floor plans, which is a wonderful advantage because you don't have to rethink again those furnishings that you decided to bring.
And just going back, thank you. So going back to that worksheet though that you mentioned, why is that important to? Because we look at these numbers and some of these are big numbers, you know.
Oh, yes. So
Why don't I just stay where I am?
Yeah,
Save a
yeah.
whole lot of money.
Well, it does, but when you start adding up your property taxes, the amount of money that it costs you to call the plumber these days when you have an emergency, you're not able to maintain your garden any longer. If you're in a HOA, perhaps there's a special assessment suddenly for roofing or something else. There's a lot of hidden costs that are involved in staying with home. And therefore, kind of seeing that balance sheet can sometimes really bring to the forefront, like, oh, I can have a stress-free life and it's not going to cost me much more. Or if maybe in some cases it will be less,
So it may not be as big a number or as big a difference
as you
we
think,
have in our
until you
mind.
start doing the numbers.
Do the math.
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful. Susie, can you talk to us, anything you want to add to assisted living and then memory care? We have a big jump in number, obviously, when we go to memory care.
We do. As you can see on the slide there is a jump typically for assisted living. And it can range anywhere from about 3,000 to about 6,600. And assisted livings typically are based on room and board and all the services in the community. That does not include care. So there will be an additional care cost possibly added to that. Memory care is certainly a much higher care level, hence the increased costs for that. It is 24/7 care. Everything is provided for. Memory care will also include a care level. And so as you can see on the slides, memory care, it's not uncommon in this area to start in the low 4,000s and advance to 8,000 or so. All the communities offer different room types: 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-bedroom, den, another room, bath, and studios. And the square footage amounts for all of those will vary. So there's lots of options for you. In the memory care realm, because of the cost, a shared occupancy is also an opportunity. For some with memory care issues, they become only oriented to themselves. And having another person in the room, they may not even be aware of it. So it's a cost-saving feature to consider a shared occupancy in memory care. And most all the communities offer that as a service as well.
Thank you, Susie. Annette, did you want to talk about all of the communities, options?
Would you like me to talk about continuing care? 'Cause,
Yeah, please, yeah.
So continuing care, we don't have a continuing care community in Northern Nevada. But we have had experience working with continuing care communities.
Which one's that on the slide, Annette? for
It
those
was
who
the
are-
previous slide. You
No, I've
just,
gone back to it.
oh,
Oh, sorry.
there, it's on both slides. So continuing care, it is where the full range of services are offered. So in Northern Nevada, we do have communities that have independent, assisted, and memory care, but we don't have any that also include a nursing care. So skilled nursing. When they have all 4 levels of care, it's called continuing care. And you buy into the community. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because we have had people leave Northern Nevada specifically to go to a continuing care community. They are in California, they're in Washington. I mean, we've got several in Sacramento area. And it is where you buy into the community, and the buy-ins can range from 300,000 to over $1 million. And then on top of that, you do have monthly payments. So it depends. You need to be healthy moving in. We have had people that wanted to move into a continuing care community, but one of the spouses did not pass the health exam. And if you need assisted living moving in, under most circumstances, they will not allow you to move into continuing care. You need to be independent moving into continuing care community. And then as you age and need more services, they are available for you. So the continuing care community, if you ever want to look into one of those, some of them have golf courses. They usually have multiple restaurants you go to. They are really top of the line, amazing campuses to check out, but you really need to plan something like that in advance. And obviously the buy-in fee is not something to sneeze at. It's
Also
pretty
top of the
expensive.
line.
Yes, definitely top of the line. So yes, and in our area, we do have quite a few senior living communities, not continuing care, but we put this booklet together. When Brett and I first came to the area in 2015, we looked to find out what all the communities that are available, and we had a hard time figuring out everything that's out there. There are quite a few, but we didn't have one directory to know exactly what it is. So we put it on our website, and oftentimes people, when they move to a senior community, they want to live near where they currently live. If you're in Northwest Reno, most of the time people want to stay in Northwest Reno. That's where their doctors are. That's where they're familiar with their surroundings. So on our website, we actually have a map, and you can click on the map and it'll show you exactly where the communities are and what's there, all their contact information. We also have these booklets. Our website, by the way, is, I'm not trying to advertise here, but it's JanelleGroup.com. On the website, they do have all the different communities, all the contact information, the map, and then this booklet we have here that's available has all the community information, their websites, their phone numbers, so that you will have a resource that you can just mark up and put your notes in and just do your research and figure out which is a good fit for you.
Thank you. So what have we not covered? I know we talked about something else last week. Or some of the myths that people have about not being ready yet. And I think Annette made an important point. If you are thinking of like a continuing care retirement community, you shouldn't, because you should stay here local instead of moving out of the area. But if you are thinking of one, being not ready yet, you really need to know what that could look like going forward, because as Annette mentioned, many people end up not being able to get in, and that was their plan A. So understanding what not ready yet is. But Lisa, myth.
The most common thing you hear, they're putting me away. And you know, we have our personal biases as we grow, and the industry has really changed in such positive leaps and bounds. So when we think about your experiences, perhaps of your family or of your mother's, father's, grandparents, this is not the same situation. So that is one of the biggest myths. And again, you know, you can't stress enough. You know, I know you've lived independently and you've been, you know, proud of that fact. But then if you wait too long, someone else is going to make that decision for you, because you may not be in the position to do it then. So I encourage that thought about what do I want in my next chapter.
And would it be fair to say, though, that we can have some control over that by doing our homework now? We have our plan A staying where we are, but what would that plan B be if something happened to me? If I did have to move and my kids are going, okay, mum, dad, you're not safe here anymore, you're moving. But if we're able to communicate to them, I want to be at 5-star because I've researched it and that's the best one for me. Or I want to be over at Mountain Lakes Estates, or I want to be up closer in Somerset because that's where my house is. So I want to be at Somerset Senior Living. So we can be proactive, that if we are having an unexpected move, that we already know what we're going to. Would that be correct?
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
So Joy, do you have a myth you'd like to debunk?
Yeah, especially with independent living, we have people come in and they say, well, I won't have my freedom or my privacy. I'm an antisocial person. I don't want people bugging me. I don't want people to intrude on my life. I want to be able to shut my door. And that's what I get at my home. At my home, everything is mine. I have my own room, my own bathroom, my own privacy. I don't have people asking for things from me. And in an independent living, that's the myth. That's the myth that once you walk in the door, you're going to be roped into activities. People will be knocking on your door and saying, don't you want to come to bingo? Don't you want to come to this activity? Hey, why don't you join us? There are some people who are very friendly, but you have the choice and you have the freedom to say, I am going to Europe for a month. Just clean my apartment for me while I'm gone and I'm going to be back in a month. You have the option to do a lock and leave system and say, I'm going to be traveling most of the summer, visiting my kids in other states. I need a place where I don't have to worry about a plumbing leak. I need the freedom to live the life that I want to lead without the responsibility of a home. I believe independent living, especially without the state restrictions and regulations of a licensed community, gives you more freedom. You have the ability to live the life you want. We have a lot of bachelors, a lot of widows who move into our building saying, you have that freedom. I know that it is the life I want to live. I shut my door. I choose what activities I want to participate in. I choose to stay in my apartment and get room service if I don't want to go down and eat with people. You have that ability to lock your apartment and have your privacy. So the freedom, the independence, and the ability to say, I'm living life the way I want.
Wonderful. Well said, Joy. Thank you. Susie.
I think it's important to realize that assisted living offers all those same freedoms that independent living offers. So there's no loss of independence. It's an addition of care if necessary. So you can still come and go and do as you wish. We're not one flew over the cuckoo's nest. And so that's so important for you to come into a community and take a look at it. So at this point, it's lip service for us to share that with you, but you will have your own perceptions when you visit these exclusive communities and see, our job is to match your desires to the community. So we all learn what's important to you. What do you want in life? And then we'll match features and benefits as best we can to have a symbiotic relationship for the two. And then with memory care, there are a few more restrictions, and they are not, keep in mind that they're restrictions based on health and safety. They're not restrictions designed to inhibit independence. So you still have access to your loved one to take them out of communities, to travel with them. You're free to come in and be with your loved one. You're just released of the care for that individual. So independence is critical in each of the areas. And often that's a myth that I hope I've debunked for you a little bit.
Thank you, Susie. Annette, did you have a myth you wanted to debunk before we go to Q&A?
Actually, I do have, mine's a little bit different. One of the things when I meet with people is what overwhelms them is all of their stuff in their house. I can't make the move because I have no idea what I'm going to do with all of this, how I'm going to do it.
Anyone relate? I hear some giggles. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm in the same boat. Got too much stuff.
So what ends up holding them back from making the decision are their belongings. And the myth that I want to debunk on that is you don't have to do this alone. There are services to help you make this happen. So you just need to raise your hand and say, I am interested in looking to see what options there are. And there are definitely, there's the National Association of Senior Move Managers, whether you plan on moving locally or across the country. There are move managers that can actually see what your situation is and coordinate the move and actually help the items in your house, dispersing of all those items that you don't want, can unpack everything at your new residence. You don't have to do this alone. I know when you were younger, I mean, all of us, we can do it. We get the U-Haul, we'll load it up ourselves. Brett and I did it. We did that. We put everything in the U-Haul and then we unloaded everything and had a garage full of boxes, and we never, ever want to do that again. Ever. So you don't have to. I'm just here to say that your belongings do not have to be the anchor that keeps you in your home. There is help.
Thank you, Annette. But just before we open it up to your questions. We have a couple of things coming up. So we have a workshop coming up next Thursday, March 23rd. Susie, could you talk about the workshop? Susie's going to kindly lead this workshop. You should all have a flyer on the workshop, but Susie, could you just briefly tell us what this workshop is about?
My pleasure. So once you've made a decision that senior living may be your best option, what's next? How do we facilitate this? And so I'll share with you the who, what, where, whens, and whys, what documentation is necessary, what you can expect. And my goal, a process like this can be daunting, just like Annette shared with moving. My goal is to help provide you the information so that you can follow a series of simple steps to arrive you at residency wherever you choose to be. So that's what you can expect next week, and I hope to see many faces.
Fantastic. So the workshop is not here. It is at our office. And what time is the workshop at next week? 10:30, yes, not 10 o'clock. So 10:30 at our office. For those who have been before, you know our office is not as easy to find as one would like because there are a lot of similar looking buildings. So on the workshop flyer, we have a map and directions. If you are coming, please use that, because if you just go to Google or on your phone, it's going to leave you in a parking lot somewhere and you're going to go, where am I meant to be? So if you would like to attend that, on your yellow evaluation form, you should see a box that you can check to let us know, so we know, Susie knows how many handouts to have prepared for you. So again, where is the workshop? Our office, and at what time? And who's coming? We see a number of hands. Good. Excellent. And that'll be run from 10:30 to roughly 11:45. Next month, our seminar here is The Truth About Driving After 80, Strategies for Staying Behind the Wheel, Staying Safe Behind the Wheel. So the reason this came about is we hear more and more people saying, as soon as you turn 80, you need to turn in your driver's license. What a bunch of hooey. There's no reason why, if we're safe and comfortable and confident, why we can't keep driving and keep on driving. So we're going to just talk about different strategies to enable us to be able to be safe and continue to drive and deal with the issues that we have to deal with as we age. And then how, I guess the question we get a lot is, how do I know when it is time to hang up my driver's license? When am I no longer safe to others and to myself? So we'll kind of talk about that. How can we like self-evaluate or get some help if we feel that maybe we shouldn't be? And then what are some of the options if we aren't able to drive anymore? What are the public transportation options that we do have here available? So again, if you would like to attend next month, on your evaluation form, you'll see a box just to check that. We'll get you pre-registered. And yes, please make sure you have your details on here, or stick your name tag on here if you're registering for next month, because we often get people checking the box that they're attending, but guess what we're missing? Who they are. So it makes it really hard for us to print out name tags when we don't know who's going to come. And so yeah, if you could just stick your name tag, write your details, that'd be a big help. And then lastly, we're really trying to help get this out to more and more people in the community. And I know we have a full room, but don't worry about that. We have a solution. If we have too many people, we have solutions. But we really want to get this out to more people. Who was here last month and heard Dr. Phillips speak? Wasn't he amazing? He came up to me and said, Brett, this is a fantastic program that you and all of the partners put together. Why don't more people know about it? And that kind of really hit home. Yeah, why don't people know more? Why don't more people know about it? Because he didn't know about it until the Sanford Center for Aging introduced me to him. And he was in shock that, yeah, more people didn't know about it. So we took that on, that we need to really spread the word. And I guess we haven't done, we've done an okay job, haven't we? We've got a full room, but yeah, certainly more people can know about it. We do record it. So I apologize to this side of the room. I always have my back to you. It's because there's a camera over there and I keep getting in trouble on the recording if I stand on that side of the stage and all they see is my back. So that's why I kind of keep looking this way. So what you could do to help us, on the evaluation form, you'll see a question there that says, what organizations do you belong to that we could share information about the Truth Series to? So what we're really asking, if you belong to like maybe a church group, a retired teachers, any organization where maybe we could come in and talk for 5 minutes and just tell them about what the Truth Series is all about, we'd love that opportunity to be able to just spread the word about this great program that you all are attending. So if you can think of an organization that you belong to, just write it in there. We'll reach out to you, talk to you about it a little bit more. Maybe you could introduce us to someone in that organization where we could perhaps go and speak. That would be much appreciated. And then last, when do we have our mastermind with all of our partners? Did we do that last week, guys? Last week, yeah. So quarterly, all the education partners get together. We have a mastermind. How can we make this better? Similar to the surveys we've sent out to you, asking how we keep improving things. And a number of people came up with a fantastic idea to encourage you to bring guests. And Lisa, are you here, Lisa? Could you come up here and join me for a moment? Lisa Fleck worked out a fantastic idea. I think it's fantastic.
I thought so too.
Can I just borrow a mic there, Lisa? Can I borrow your mic? Tell us about what we're going to institute starting next month if you bring a guest.
Okay, so I was trying to think about how to talk about this, and you've all heard the saying about what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? Well, you guys are all of our gooses, so thank you for being our gooses. And how many of you feel that this has been educational, informational, really helped you make informed decisions about your life, right? And you all have people in your community that could possibly take advantage of the same thing, right? But sometimes it's kind of hard to twist their arm, or you think, maybe it's not worthwhile making that phone call and bringing 1 or 2 people. Well, what we want to do, we want to expand. As Brett said, we have a place to accommodate more people, get the word out there more. So starting next month, there is going to be a raffle, and everybody that brings a new participant is going to get a ticket. So if you bring 3 people, you get 3 tickets. And I have the honor, because it was my brilliant idea, I have the honor of being able to provide the first gift certificate or prize for the person who wins the raffle next month. So my prize is going to be a $200 gift certificate to Brick's Restaurant. Because oftentimes we don't get a chance to treat ourselves as something special. Sometimes you might want to have a grandson or something that's having a big event coming up in June, and you'd like to be able to host them at a very nice restaurant. So that's what my prize is going to be. So I look forward to handing out lots of raffle tickets next week. And if you bring 5 people and other people don't, that's a pretty darn good chance you're going to get that gift certificate. So please bring more people, sign up, let Brett know how many people you're bringing so we can make sure to always accommodate everybody. And let's make this thing grow and really help our entire community here.
So let me understand how that's going to work.
Okay.
So
The rules.
if I'm bringing 2 guests,
Yes.
I need to get them registered.
Yes.
We can have name tags. Make
Yes.
sure we have enough materials.
Mhm.
And then when I get here with my guests, I need to come up to you,
Find me.
Lisa, find
Yep.
you, say, these are my 2 guests.
And I will give you 2 raffle tickets, and
Okay.
they will be dropped into a little thing, right? Thank you. And then I will let Brett choose, or someone else, and whoever wins, whoever's name is drawn, will get the $200 gift certificate to Bricks.
So if I'm the only one who brings 2 guests, I just want to be really clear. And there's only 2 tickets in there, and they're my guests. And when we do the drawing,
You get
the
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Challenge on. Challenge accepted.
Yes.
There have been people that have come before, but say they haven't come for a few times.
Thank you. Great question. So the question was, what about people who've been before and haven't been in a long time? So that's too hard for us. We want them to be new people, because if they come before, they know what this is about. This is new people that don't know about the Truth Series. So thank you for clarifying that. They must be new. Can't be someone who came 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And just the honesty system, we're not going to go back and check. Or maybe we will.
I don't know. We have lots of people show up. So this is something that the sponsors are all going to be participating in, and the person next month who will be handing out their prize in May will get up and get a chance to share that with you in April as to what it will be, right?
And I think
Is
we
that what we
decided it was a minimum of,
Minimum of a $200 value.
yeah.
Okay. So hopefully it's not just a $5 gift certificate to Starbucks.
Thanks. Thank you. Awesome job, Lisa. Oh, Alexa asked me to mention, we have those tear sheets. I don't know if I have one here. If you are frequenting coffee shops, your gym, we still have those tear sheets. I know a lot of you have put out, which we really appreciate, so people can grab information, just tear one off, from the gym or the church bulletin board or whatever it might be. So Alexa has those if anyone would like some more. Excellent. My mic runners. Who are my mic runners today? Could you please introduce yourself briefly? What organization you're with, Julie?
Good morning. I'm Julie Bendinelli and I'm with Somerset Senior Living. You've heard about us with my partner here, Susie, but we are a family-owned operation. We provide independent, assisted, and memory care.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie. Debbie.
I'm Debbie Wood. I think everybody knows me. I've been here forever. But I did change companies. I'm with Mason McDuffie Mortgage. So what I do is provide all types of home lending, including reverse mortgages.
Great. Thank you, Debbie. Awesome. So Debbie's going to take this side of the room. Hands up if you have a question for our panelists, and Julie's going to take that side of the room. So Julie, wow, our panels have been so thorough. We have no questions over here. Yes.
The question regarding if you have long-term care insurance, how much does that cover related to just memory care?
Go, Susie.
Happy to address that long-term care insurance policies. Each policy is different. And so what it will cover is listed on your cover sheet for that. So that's critical for you to understand what your policy includes. And how much they cover is based on your type of policy. Long-term care can become activated when there are minimum number of activities of daily living requirements. And there is typically a elimination clause where you must pay out of pocket for a specified amount of time. And then your benefit amount will kick in per your policy at that point. It is important for you to know that the senior living communities in Northern Nevada do not work directly with your long-term care provider. That is your responsibility. And payment then is made to the policy holder. Certainly, there is information that the senior living communities must provide to the long-term care companies. And so we are always happy to provide that to hopefully perpetuate your benefit.
Thank you, Susie. And for those who don't know, Vic, yeah, I see Vic down the back. Can you stand up, Vic? Vic's with the Mater Senior Care. So Vic, you know a lot about long-term care policies because you help a lot of people with in-home care, whether it's in their home or in a community. Vic, correct me if I'm wrong, will happily do a complimentary consultation for anyone wanting to understand what their long-term care policy covers. And you even get on the phone, speakerphone with the person and call the insurance company and find it. Yeah. So Vic's a great resource. I know he's done that for many, many people. And you got brochures outside, Vic. So Vic's one of our education partners. So Vic has brochures outside specifically for long-term care insurance. So thank you, Vic. Question over here, Debbie. Oh, here and then there.
Yes, I have a question about the long-term care. If we were living in a community and the long-term care insurance was paying, but you have to do a monthly assessment to continue it. If we decide that we're going to go take a cruise for a month, what happens for that month? Yeah, how do you, because we're not there for a month. Not that we're going to take a cruise for a month, but you get my meaning.
Well, why not, Vicki? Why not? Again, the stipulations of your policy will dictate those particulars. And there's no stock standard policy. They're all very unique. And so a consultation with Vic is highly recommended because then you can really understand each and every component of your policy and then comply with those requirements to activate and maintain your benefits.
Thank you. Question over here. Yes, Julie.
This one is for Joy. Joy, I'm dealing with my ex-stepmom, my stepmom, and she's just, as a child, she's just mean, hit everything. I went and saw her yesterday and she'll forget maybe 10 minutes later. We had one doctor write a letter, but if I got her into a home, I mean, she's already been arrested. She's run away for 3 days. She's just, and she was a mean, nasty person as a child. And it's just worse right now. And I don't, I know she'll get kicked out of whatever she does. She's, extremely wealthy. We have a step kid watching the house and all that. He's done. We just can't deal with it. If she gets into a home, do they kick her out? I mean, the one that's locked up, it's getting that bad. I mean, she's just,
So
I
it
went to
sounds
college
like
on a boxing scholarship because of her. I learned to fight as a kid. She's just
this is mainly behavioral, or does she have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or Lewy body or dementia? Okay. So memory care might be an option for her, depending on whether or not you can get her stabilized on medications that would allow her to be appropriate in that setting.
She refuses to take
Okay.
even her vitamins.
If that's the case, one option might be a behavioral health center that can manage, try and deal with any kind of behavior specifically in a more medical setting. But you also have the option, if you're saying she has the finances for it, companion care like Amada. We just talked to Vic about long-term care. His company would do companionship care.
Yeah.
There is a big hindrance if you have a violent person, dementia to the point of wandering, or behaviors that can be a
Correct.
danger to those employees. It is correct that if you're in any care facility and you are unable to maintain appropriate behaviors, or you are a disruption, stop paying rent, it's typical of any housing situation where you do have that ability as a business to say, this person is a danger to the other residents and our staff, and you would be asked to leave. There are situations that happen in that way to maintain the safety of the other residents in the building.
So we're stuck with her. That's what I mean. No, my
Talk
stepbrother's
to Vic. Talk to Vic.
No.
He might be able
I
to.
would suggest talking to Vic, maybe talking to any of these guys
It's
a
bad.
one-on-one, because it's kind of
It's just-
specific.
It's just bad.
Yeah.
There's,
One quick question, and that is, for these workshops and things, do you have Zoom available?
Not for the workshops, unfortunately.
Okay, and then the
That
other
sounds like we
question.
should, does it?
Yeah.
We should do the workshops via Zoom?
Yeah. If we're
think
out
we
of
could do
town or
that.
whatever and want to go, that, it's a shame that you don't have a Zoom. Set up. Yeah,
We'll work it
or
out.
recorded, or recorded.
Or recording. We'll
Yeah.
do one of the two.
Okay. Great.
If you just put on your form via Zoom as a reminder, when we go through those, I'll see if we can make. Zoom
Okay,
happen
so
for
the real question is, almost all the facilities have wait lists now. And if you are trying to be proactive, is there some way that you can sign a contract? And when it is time for you to use this facility, you would get preferential ranking in terms of moving into the facility?
Great question.
I can take that one. Yes, you are correct. As we've seen a lot of retirees come to Reno, we have wonderful, wonderful options here, but it is true. That's why I always say visit a minimum of 3. If you can manage, go to 5. You really will see a difference between, we all do the same thing, but it's all kind of like different ice cream flavors. You'll know the one when you see it. And so normally, like, I can just speak to how our list is. If you find a particular floor plan that you feel that is the best one for you, we can place you on a wait list with a deposit that we maintain. And as occupancy changes and someone moves, maybe they're going to an assisted living, then we start calling. We go in order. And it doesn't mean that right at that moment you have to take it, but we'll go in order, invite those folks to come in and take a look. And then, if they decide, well, I don't like the view on this one, or maybe at that point, ambulation is a little bit more difficult and we need something closer to the elevators, for example, then you don't lose your spot, but we'll keep you on there and come back to you then when we have that same floor plan come available.
Even if I'm not ready yet, that's okay.
That's
just not
right.
ready
That's
yet.
right. But we'll try to give it a good argument. How's that?
So you guys talked about touring 2 to 3, 5 communities.
Yeah.
Who did the community tour? Was it last year we did the bus tour? Yeah, who thinks we should do another one of those again sometime this year? Yeah, bus tour, we go around, 3 to 5 communities or whatever number, maybe 2 one day, 2 another. Yeah, okay. Just hands one more time. Alexa, can you just take a quick, how many people do we have? Quite a lot. Okay. You won't fit in the back of my car then. Okay. We need a bus again. Okay. Where do we get to? Which side is the next question? This side, Julie. Any questions on the left-hand side? Any questions back on this side? Oh, fantastic. We're going to get out early today. We can go find that pot of gold. So a big, huge thank you to our panelists. Annette, you have something? No? You guys were amazing on behalf of the audience. They all thought you were amazing. I think you're amazing. So thank you so much for doing this. And then next month on driving. And yeah, have a fantastic rest of the day. And we look forward to seeing you next month.